In this series, I talk about how truth becomes blurry because of cognitive dissonance caused by narcissistic abuse. I will now further try to explore the mind of a narcissist in order to explain why a narcissist has an unfair advantage when it comes to playing a game of truth. This all follows from my own experience combined with my research on narcissism. I grew up in a family with a narcissistic father and empathic mother, and I have observed a lot as a young child. Now, I hope I can help others from this experience. I'm aware there's a large variety of types of narcissists, and this video is a generalized attempt mainly to explain why it's very logical victims start doubting themselves and their truth. It's not a rational or conscious choice to be abused, and you can't blame a victim for being manipulated into staying. Therefore, it's necessary to be able to recognize narcissistic behavior and certain dynamics of the mind. Everyone has their own truth resulting from their own thoughts and beliefs. You are what you think. What a person fully believes can become the truth for them. A narcissist seems to fully believe in their truth. The truth to them is their created identity of being superior. The narcissist could believe their identity created by ego is an authentic soul. It means there is emptiness or hidden pain beneath it all, but it will never be reached. It seems like the dynamic of the narcissistic mind revolves around the following things. The first is having an unending need for validation, appreciation and ego boosting. This need grows continuously when being fulfilled, and therefore the needs will never be fulfilled as a whole. It's like trying to fill a bottle with water, but the bottle doesn't have a bottom. The second is feeling no empathy, which results in a form of emptiness. They can't imagine how someone could feel because they don't know. They also can't choose to feel or emphasize, and thus only could learn it theoretically and by observing others. The third dynamic is the need for so-called narcissistic supply. They choose their actions consciously or unconsciously to get narcissistic supply, which follows from their unending needs. This supply feeds their ego and confirms their view of the world. The fourth dynamic is a vicious circle of confirmation and ego boosting. A narcissist only takes responsibility for good things and doesn't take responsibility for bad things, but will blame others for these. They essentially have a mind that doesn't question themselves, but seeks outside reasons for bad things. If you never take responsibility or apologize, you will not learn to grow spiritually. Their self-worth can only increase by taking responsibility for merely the good things, and by doing this, they keep confirming their superiority. In a way, they create their own positive vicious circle of confirmation and ego boosting. When this happens and you recognize it, this clearly confirms that everyone has their own truth. The fifth dynamic is having no true self-reflection. The blind spot of a narcissist seems to be the lack of critical self-reflection on a deeper level, and this creates certainty. They don't have to doubt themselves. It seems they have no control over this blind spot. The sixth dynamic is that a narcissist basically could embrace who they are. Narcissists can be aware of being narcissistic or having a narcissistic reputation. When a narcissist knows this about themselves, it doesn't really change anything, because mostly they don't want to change. A narcissist doesn't care about your feelings and can't compare to their own feelings. Why would you care if you don't feel shame, a sense of responsibility for what your behavior might cause, and when you're not slowed down by guilt? Again, this is a very generalized attempt to explain some dynamics of the narcissistic mind. The end result of it all is important, which is this narcissistic mind is a created identity that is very certain and confident. It has an unhealthy belief in own superiority and truth. This creates an unfair advantage when their truth conflicts with the truth of a victim, who obviously doesn't have the same amount of certainty but has self-doubts and a critical inner voice. A narcissist abuses this unfair advantage consciously or uses it unconsciously. Their behavior demands that the victim also has a certainty of their truth. A victim needs to acknowledge the relationship is unhealthy in order to be able to leave. This requires a very strong trust in their own truth and intuition. Now, I will go deeper into cognitive dissonance in abusive relationships. We explored how the mind can work to reduce the discomfort of cognitive dissonance and, for example, rationalize things away. We also explored why truth can become blurry because of the dynamic of narcissists having full certainty about their truth and healthy human beings having doubts. Now, I will go deeper into how the mind of a victim of narcissistic abuse can respond to the discomfort of cognitive dissonance. I'll use an example with fictional names to explore this. Maria, who is the victim, tries to confront Paul, who is the narcissist, about seeing sexual messages from him to another woman. The belief of Maria is that Paul is a good man and the action is him cheating on her. She can choose many ways to respond to this situation. The first is Maria instantly changes her view of Paul and realizes he is not who she thought. She will end the relationship. In her belief, someone that loves her can't do something like that, and therefore she needs to end the relationship. This response shows clear boundaries and certainty in what she saw. The second is Maria still believes Paul is a good man and he didn't mean to do this. He must be sorry. It was a one-time thing and they will work on it together. Paul convinces her it didn't mean anything and it's not important. I have to mention this way of dealing with the situation could still be a normal boundary if Maria chooses this consciously or something that also could happen in relationships without narcissistic manipulation. The next ways, however, show a clear unhealthy or unequal dynamic in the relationship. The third way is Maria blames herself for not being good enough and understands Paul had to seek love somewhere else. She will try to improve herself in order to keep Paul happy. He won't do it again if she will take better care of him in the future. The fourth way is Maria chooses to believe Paul's attempts to convince her it's simply not true what she saw, which is his attempt of gaslighting. She misunderstood the text or imagined it. Paul says she does that more often because of her jealousy. The fifth way is Maria denies to herself she saw the messages and doesn't even bring it up to Paul. It just can't be true and she must be mistaken. Paul will be mad or use silent treatment and she doesn't want to disturb the good thing they have right now. Now, this example shows that a situation can play out in many ways and there could be more possibilities than the above. There are many ways to rationalize or change beliefs or ideas. In this example, only the first reaction will not lead to cognitive dissonance, whereas the other responses are ways to reduce the discomfort of cognitive dissonance. What happens will be very dependent on the level of narcissistic abuse in the relationship. Paul could have been devaluing and gaslighting Maria for a long time, which could result in reactions 3, 4, or 5. The disturbing thing is that a lot of victims can't believe their loved one is a narcissist showing brutal and twisted manipulative behavior. The tendency then will be to find other solutions to reduce the discomfort following from cognitive dissonance. If you can't believe the truth about narcissistic abuse, you will be stuck in changing other beliefs, the truth, or denial. Maria could, for example, have the following defense mechanisms if she decides to stay with Paul. The first is Maria could accept Paul shows unhealthy behavior, but also believe he is still a good man as well. She will separate the narcissistic part from the good behavior, which is the loving Paul. In that way, she can accept staying in the relationship. The second is Maria could accept she will not find love with a deeper connection and settles for Paul. he does provide good income, and she convinces herself she has some freedom. It's sacrificing freedom and the possibility of having real love that could be caused by fear or low self-worth. The third is Maria believes in all relationships there will be lows, and this is just the tough part. A lot of relationships have trouble, and a lot of people have cheated on their partner. She convinces herself this is the same, and convinces herself Paul is really sorry, even though he might not say it himself. To conclude this video, a victim of a narcissist could live with an incredible amount of discomfort caused by cognitive dissonance. When you are an outsider to the victim, you can observe the mind of the victim arguing a lot away. It's a form of survival and a requirement for the victim to keep functioning. In the next video, I will go deeper into defense mechanisms and explore them. I hope so far these videos could give some insight to you, where hopefully it can be helpful in order to make decisions for yourself to protect your energy. Wish you kindness and strength. Thank you for listening.